help with that too much.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Connect and Collaborate White Sands Self-Care. I am your host, Laura Cross, and we are all about building education, resources, connection, and collaboration with other people that can support you along your self-care journey. And I am so excited to have with me today Wendy Watson. She is the CEO, founder of TBR Spiritual Health. And although she's been a massage therapist for 12 years and has done energy healing work for 8 years, it wasn't always easy. One of the things she says that I like is life is all about learning to be the better version of yourself or the best version of yourself. And it wasn't always easy. As Wendy would tell you, she's had a chaotic, stressful, and complicated life, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So I thought maybe if you could, Wendy, maybe share with everyone, because I think we've all kind of related to having that whole chaotic stress and complications, but not sure how to get through it. So maybe if you could share with everybody a little bit what you mean by that.
Well, for me, chaotic and stressful was being a child of divorce and having 2 different homes and having step families, and not just having regular step families. I had step families that lied and stole from each other, and the son would steal from the father and the grandmother and all the things, and they would steal from us, and going through my own 2 divorces and losing a child, and all of those things that can really cause some baggage and cause some emotional turmoil. And it's, from my approach, it's learning to get rid of the old energy patterns that we were brought up with, or even from a previous life, or even from the occurrences that we grew up with, just removing that negative energy or the energy blockages and establishing some good, healthy living patterns and some self-care patterns so that you can manage the current life cycles through a healthier brainwaves, through healthier living patterns, through healthier energy patterns.
Yeah. But how did that realization come about to you? Because that's not something most of us are brought up with or taught, about energies or other things. So, how did you even wind up getting that revelation?
So one of the things that helped me was this 70-20-10 rule that an audit manager gave me when I was working in accounting for corporate America before I got into massage therapy. And he told me that as long as 70% of the invoices and the POs go through, 20% need to be escalated, 20% need to be escalated and 10% need to be written off. As long as it falls within those guidelines, that's what they aim for. And it really gave me permission to write things off and to not be perfect. And I started using that rule in so many different facets of life and my interactions with people, right? 70% of what I project is going to be my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
10% might be direct to the person that I'm talking to, and 20% might be in the middle somewhere. So what am I projecting?
Right.
Right. So that was stage 1. And then stage 2 was going and learning to be a massage therapist, going from total left brain accounting work to total right brain spiritual energy healing. I'd never learned anything about anatomy or even body mechanics. Like, that's not something they teach in high school, or I think the most I ever
teach
heard.
It in accounting.
No, ergonomics wasn't even a thing back then, right? Like, this was
Right.
2003-ish. Like, I think they were starting to talk about it, but it still wasn't a thing. So I think the most I'd ever heard was sit up straight at the dinner table, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So learning about all of the different body systems and muscles and how they work, but also how they work together to make its own little ecosystem in order for it to heal itself. The body is amazing. It will heal itself.
Yeah,
But you
absolutely.
have to, sometimes you have to encourage it, or you have to stop the bad habits that's creating the issues in the first place in order for the body to heal itself.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point, because I remember in 2005, after my husband passed away, was when I first saw a massage therapist for the first time. And it absolutely amazes me when you think you have a pain or something one place, but they hit something else, and it and it will trigger or shoot all the way down there, because if you haven't taken those classes, you don't think about how everything's connected, or what it affects. And so that was huge. You start learning that. And so I started learning to listen to them, and try to start learning to listen to my own body when it tells me things, and figure out what I just did wrong to make it get to that state.
Yes, which is so important. And the rule of thumb in massage therapy is that it is where it isn't.
Yeah.
Right. So
Mhm.
even though our brain is going to, oh my gosh, I feel it right in between my shoulder blades on my right side, it's usually that not where the complication is arising, which kind of is applied to life too. So just because our mind is going to, oh my gosh, that customer service rep was so rude to me today, that doesn't mean that's the root of why you're being cranky or why you're lashing out.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes it could just be stuff that's been built up, whether it's been building up for the past, or maybe someone said something in the morning, it really kind of irked you, but you didn't say nothing, and then you encounter another one, and that could just be like the last straw.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So when you did the massage, so you're doing massage for a while, and then you morph more into the energy, because I know you do a lot with energy healing.
Yeah, I found myself really drawn towards the energy modalities. And then I started working at a yoga studio, which is all about energy and moving energy. And so, in order to try and get them in as clients, I knew I had to get my hands on them, but it really opened up all of these intuitional skills that as an adult, I didn't realize that I had. And then later, talking to a family friend, she's like, oh, yeah, you did this stuff all the time as a kid. Right. But then the adults, my mom always got me in trouble for saying what I said or doing what I did. And so I kind of shut it down. So
Mhm.
now that I'm back into massage and it's back into reopening or re-inviting itself, all that stuff started flushing back in, and it's just amazing. And then I realized my grandma does energy work. She just doesn't call it that. And my late grandfather, he did hand healing work at his church. So
Mhm.
I come by it very rightfully.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of it got a bad stigma, stigmatism
Mhm.
to it a long time ago. So, because there's a lot of people I know, especially if you're, if you say that you got psychic abilities, and you first thing your mind will go to is these trashy commercials or stuff that they throw at you and stuff, and people don't realize the difference or what that actually is.
Right. So just because people use those terms doesn't mean it, you're one of these fake people that's on TV, or just because you use the word shamanism doesn't mean it's some voodoo thing and that you're using dark energy and like all the things. Cause that's one of the questions that my dad had for me when I was talking to him about it. And I'm like, I'm healing people. Like I'm trying to make people the best version of themselves, the purest version
Mhm.
of themselves. Like this, it's not.
I think it's kind of when people don't understand it, because I have a host of natural products and stuff, or holistic products, and I can talk to somebody, was that more of that voodoo stuff? And I'm like, I'm like, no, it's self-care. It's just not taking pills and prescriptions. It's stuff that some of it works with your mind, because it's wearable technology, and I'm like, it has nothing to do with voodoo. It has to do with your mind. But when you're not
Mhm.
educated, or you don't know, it's just, easier to kind of poke fun at it, or put it in a class that it doesn't belong in.
Yeah, I was listening to this Western neuroscientist talk, And he was talking to another Western neuroscientist who is more of a materialist, and he used the word energy. And the materialist one, he's just like, oh, that's a woo-woo term. He's like, actually, it's the most scientific term out there. I mean, Tesla's all about energy.
Yep.
You know, all of these other scientists, it's all energy, whether it's energy that you can see in the light bulb, or energy that you can feel in the microwave, or untangible energy that comes off of your body, like your aura, your hands. It's still all energy.
Yeah, and we're all energy. I mean, it's easy enough for us to say, or it's like if somebody wants you to do something, it's like, oh no, I don't have the energy. You'll use it in that form, but to
Mhm.
think of yourself as constant energy or moving, people just a lot of times don't think of it that way.
I don't think it's widely talked about that way.
It's not. It's not. Not in
Yes.
my experience. Not in, even when I had went back to college to get my degrees in 2018 and stuff. They still E&C stuff being talked about like that. They don't talk about most of them don't even still talk about being an entrepreneur either. So, yeah.
You know, and nutrition is energy too, right? In order
Mhm.
to build energy, sometimes we have to eat foods that raises that energy for us, or caffeine or chocolate, right? So for me, everything is energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another good point, because a lot of us don't think of it that way. You think caffeine, oh, I need to stay awake. You've got that going and everything. But really, there are certain foods that will make you more lethargic and tired, because just depends on
Mhm.
what they're made of. But we don't often look at it that way.
Right. And sometimes we don't realize how we react to food, right? So just because kale is healthy, that doesn't mean it's healthy for you, right? It's not healthy for people that are on blood thinners or, certain things. And just because eggs are healthy doesn't mean it's the proper thing for you to eat. So really tuning into your body and tuning into your energy will help you notice how you respond to different foods.
Right. And that's why I think this is, because, it's just like everything else. To me, we're individuals for a reason. What works for me may not work for you, may not work for someone else. But until you start digging into it or keeping track of how you're feeling after things, or work with someone that can help you go through that, you don't realize it. Some people just give up and say, oh, well, that doesn't work.
Right.
Or they give up on trying things just because they think, oh, they've been thrown everything, but maybe they just didn't have the right person to work with them and to work through it.
Right. And I think mentality plays a big part in that too. It's one thing to want to explore a little bit further. It's another thing to do the work. And
Mhm.
then some people just struggle with being able to move forward or to think outside the box. Like I know somebody who's diabetic, and she told me that she can't eat rice. Okay. So what grain can you eat? Well, I don't know. I just can't eat rice. Okay, well, there's quinoa, there's farro, there's all these other grains. Oh, I've never heard of those. If you Google right, alternatives,
Yeah.
right? Like, so sometimes it's getting past that thing that's keeping you stuck, or finding that right person to unlock whatever it is that's not allowing you to progress forward.
Yeah. And that was a challenge. I mean, my fiance is a type 2 diabetic. And when we first learned, it was just like, boom, it was like it got slammed with the wall. Great. That means I can't eat anything I like. I'm like, well, no, we have to eat it within portion sizes. There's no more eating half of a mac and cheese, Stouffer's frozen dinner, with the
Right.
family size. You used to be able to wipe out half of a family size. Can't do that. The carbs just throw his diabetes numbers up like crazy. And then he was having issues with potassium. Well, I was having him eat healthier. I didn't realize the salads I was feeding him was raising his potassiums until he got, hospitalized for something else. And they were doing blood work constantly, and I could see what was affecting it. And I'm like, oh, okay, no more salads for you all the time, because that's just not good.
Right. Back to my point that even though salads are healthy, it may not be the right thing for you to eat.
Right. it just depends on how our body processes different things.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your TBR, spiritual health, stands for To Be Revealed Spiritual Health. When did you start that?
January, 3 months ago.
Did you just this year?
Yeah. Yeah. I moved out of Phoenix to Denver last year. Reopened my massage studio in Denver in September. And then rebranded as a spiritual therapist in January. There's a lot of my skill sets that don't get highlighted when I advertise as a massage therapist. Because
Right.
then they just see me as a massage therapist. Right. So as I rebranded, even some of my family is just like, so you're more than a massage therapist? Yes.
You.
Yes, I am.
Yep.
Right. So I really wanted to kind of focus more on the other aspects of what I do, because I find the life coaching and the energy work and the intuitive readings are so much more helpful for other people. It really tunes into their situation,
Mhm.
their energy, their path, and it gets to the root of all of that stuff. Instead of, yes, the massage feels great, and yes, the massage helps move the energy, the stuck energy around. But it doesn't matter as much unless you can clear out the rest of the energy, unless you can clear out the mental blockages, or even help them tune into their guides to find out what their path is, so that they can finally see the light through the forest of the trees.
Yeah, or even like releasing past traumas or experiences. That's one thing I learned with another one that does the TRE experience and stuff. It's just a total release, because whether you've broken a bone or you've gone through something traumatic or an injury or an abuse or whatever, you might think you're over it, but your body actually can hang on to that if you don't properly release and get rid of it.
Yeah. In fact, I was just having that conversation with somebody, and I was like, you're harboring these memories. And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, you are. And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, okay. So the conversation kept moving forward, and then she started getting emotional. And I was like, why are you getting emotional? Well, there's still emotions attached to the memories. And that's what I mean by harboring.
Yeah.
And then the light came on, and she's like, oh, I'm like, you have to release the emotions that are attached to the memories in order to be able to progress forward.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of an epiphany for her. Another recent example I want to give is I recently had a client come in who's got hyperthyroid. Her number, well, I get confused on hyper or hypo, but the numbers were really high, which was keeping it from producing.
Okay.
Producing. Like her numbers were in the 40s when it should be around 5 or 6.
Yeah, that's really high.
Yeah. And she was taking medications. She was modifying her like drastically modifying her nutrition. We did one energy session where it came out where she was strangled in a previous life, which is why she can't wear turtlenecks. She can't wear necklaces. She can't wear anything that's even close to her clavicles, like up into here. And so we did some energy work on that. And within a week, her thyroid numbers were down to 3.3.
Nice. Nice.
And she can get off of her medications.
Yeah, I've talked to another person about that too, and we were having that discussion a little bit, and it depends on what you're open to or what you want to believe. There's a lot out there, but it's like all of a sudden it's like, like I always said I hate snakes. And if I, snakes, it was like throw me into this whole kind of thing, but it's like I never really had an interaction with them. I just don't like them, and never like, really know why. But there's a lot of things sometimes that you may not have had an experience of swimming or drowning, but you're afraid of the water and you don't want to go in the water, but have nothing really happened to you that you know of, or that you might know of
Right.
since you were born. And so, yeah, that's another whole interesting side of stuff that you
Yeah.
can learn.
Yeah. So I like anything like that. I like to release because it's holding you, it's an energy that you're still holding on to for whatever reason
Mhm.
that could be holding you back from being
Yes.
the best version of yourself. So I like addressing all of those things, not just the things that you're aware of, but what aren't you aware of that needs to be released?
Right. Now, I know you opened up your new store, or your new you call salon shop
Studio.
thank you. Studio in Denver there. Is that the only place you work with clients, or do you work, is because as I understand energy work, you can work with people long distances. So do you work with clients long distance as well, or do you stick mostly to hands-on and in person?
Right now it's hands-on, but I'm trying to promote more virtual sessions.
So you can do that.
Yeah,
If they were
absolutely.
interested, should they, so they
Mhm.
could reach out to you about that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. And you mentioned the 70-20-10 rule, and I believe that also has something to do with a new book you're working on that'll be coming out soon. Do you want
Yes.
to tell everybody about that?
So I am most of the way through writing my new book called Verbal Turbulence, the 70-20-10 rule. And it goes through my story of all the chaos and how that translated into my communication and how I treated people and how abrasive my communication was, how judgmental my communication was. I was talking to my sister about it. She's like, I knew where your heart was coming from, but it didn't come out that way. She's like, it was very harsh. And I can't tell you how many jobs I got fired from for being abrasive. That was the key word that most people use, but they also wouldn't explain it to me.
Right.
So I didn't know. So once I got this formula and I was able to apply it and use it to gauge, to find the value in the interactions, which it forced me to turn around and look at the other person's perspective. Like, why would they say that? What am I not hearing? What do I not know that I need to understand? And by leading with that understanding and resolution has helped me come so far in my communication that even my clients are just like, it's like talking to a long lost sister or,
Mhm.
your best friend. And most people, like, almost as soon as they meet me, they're just willing to open up, which is amazing.
Yeah, and that's an important part, I think, too, is because I think so many people are afraid to reach out or get help because they don't want to be judged. They're afraid they're going to be judged or put into, some kind of realm. So, the fact that you're not abrasive, you're not judgmental, I think makes a huge difference when you're working with people.
My space is completely judgment free. You can say whatever you need to say, even if you're afraid to say it or you don't really quite know how to say it. One of my recent clients, we did some energy and crystal healing, and when she came out of it, she just started crying, and I was like, okay, how are you feeling? And she's like, that is the safest I have felt for as long as I can remember. She's like, and it just felt so amazing, like she couldn't hold it in. And that's how I want my clients to feel. I want them to feel like they're in a completely safe space and that they can be and say whatever is true to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So Wendy, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? I know we have a lot of different links and I can put them in the comments, but maybe you want to tell them what the best way is to contact you.
Yeah, so you can contact me by phone, call or text at 602-689-1695. You can email me at tbrspiritualhealth@yahoo.com. And I'm on most social media at TBR Spiritual Health.
Yeah, no, and we will make sure we put all of those links in the comments for you. Wendy, I know you're very busy and you have more clients to see and stuff today. So I want to thank you for your time and for sharing all of that with everybody today. I greatly
And
appreciate it.
thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be on your show today. I really
Oh.
appreciate it.
Thank you. And before we go, I just want to make a couple of quick announcements. So next Monday, we'll have Tana Boss from Inner Reality Wellness to tell us a little bit more about her. She's also going to be the guest speaker for my live event that I hold here in Fairgrove, Missouri. On May 19th, we'll be doing that. But if you want to get to know her a little bit, she'll be on Monday. And also, I have another event coming up here local. So if you know of anyone in the Fairgrove area, the second week of May, I have Natalie Heckert, the inventor and owner of Club eFit, coming, and we'll be hosting an event at the house. So if you know of anyone in those areas, and just contact me, reach out to get more information, because we really want to build this community of building that education and resources and support for everyone. And as always, if you've missed this interview or others, you can go to my YouTube channel as well and catch up on all of them. But Wendy, I want to thank you again for joining us today, and everyone have a great day. And remember that self-care isn't selfish. It's essential for a healthier you, and have a wonderful day.
Have a blessed day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.